Now at 5, a Sweet 16 birthday party turns deadly after a shooting breaks out, killing 4. The latest details on what police know so far in Alabama. Plus, volunteers gathering in Salt Lake City to help shovel sand and fill bags for their neighbors see the efforts of those wanting to make a difference in keeping their homes safe from floodwaters. And is all of this flooding helping? Hear from a professor who tells us all about the Great Salt Lake's levels and if all of this runoff could be beneficial.
Live from Utah's first TV station, ABC4 News celebrates 75 years.
Hello, I'm Sarah Murphy. Thanks for joining us this evening for ABC4 News at 5. We begin tonight with an update on the Great Salt Lake. The record-breaking snowfall we've seen this winter is starting to melt. And with that, we're watching as all this water flows into the Salt Lake. ABC4's Annika Johns joins us live in studio after meeting with professors who say that all this water, while it might be a burden in some areas, it's helping get the lake levels to rise. Annika?
That's right, Sarah. While officials with the Division of Water Resources say it will take much more than one above average winter to replenish the lake's water levels, this year's snowfall and now floods are undoubtedly improving and helping get the lake back to its former glory. The Division of Water Resources reports that the lake has already risen about 3 feet since last November, and with the ongoing runoff and snowmelt, that number is expected to increase.
I know that it's really hard to be grateful when your basement's flooding or your road is collapsing, but this actually is the lifeblood of Great Salt Lake, and it's going to give us a little bit more wiggle room as we implement the conservation measures we need to refill the lake.
Abbott continued saying that while these 3 feet are greatly appreciated and needed, we still need about 7 or 8 feet to get the lake's minimum health levels up. DWR says that while this progress is something we should celebrate, it's important to remember that we need to continue to prioritize water conservation efforts if we want to stay on the path of restoring the lake. Back to you, Sarah.
All right, thank you, Annika. Now to national news. A shooting in Dadeville, Alabama has left at least 4 people dead, and authorities say many others injured. Police say it happened around 10:30 Saturday night during a birthday party. Here's ABC's Jacqueline Lee with the details.
Gunfire erupted late Saturday evening during a birthday party in Dadeville, Alabama, a small rural town about 60 miles northeast of Montgomery. Authorities have asked the public to contact them with any information that might help in the investigation.
This is going to be a long, complicated process. We're going to continue to work through in a very methodical way to go through this scene, to look at the facts, and ensure that justice is brought to bear for the families.
Pastor Ben Hayes told ABC News he'd been at the hospital overnight with families of the victims. Hayes said family members told him the gunfire erupted inside the small party venue when tempers flared during an argument. Officials have not confirmed that children were involved in the shooting, but counseling will be available to students Monday morning.
We will make every effort to comfort those children and don't lose sight of the fact that those are the ones most impacted by this situation.
The police chief described Dadeville, which has a population of about 3,000, as a tight-knit community full of wonderful people.
I ask you to please keep our community in your prayers. I ask you to keep my police department in your prayers. And I also ask each of you, please do not let this moment define what you think about the city of Dadeville and our fine people.
Alabama's Governor Kay Ivey offering her condolences, tweeting, "I grieve with the people of Dadeville and my fellow Alabamians. Violent crime has no place in our state." Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, New York.
All right, shifting gears now, checking in with meteorologist Nate Larson for our pinpoint weather forecast. Nate, how's the weather looking this weekend?
You know, a beautiful day, kickstart at least up at Big Cottonwood Canyon. Let's show you what Chris Williams captured with the drone flying out there. This morning, we've got more blue skies as well this afternoon, warmer temperatures. Here's a look from his point of view, at least this morning. Yeah, lots of snow, of course, up in our mountain areas. Nice to see some of the grass and flowers starting to come up in the soil here in the valleys where we don't have snow on the ground. But again, blue skies have been the name of the game. Warmer temperatures, as I mentioned today, southwest flow has been increasing as our high pressure ridge starts to shift towards the east. In fact, we've hit 73 degrees here in Salt Lake, Provo 70, Milford 70, 78 in St. George should top out right at about 80 degrees. So we might get another 2 degrees out of the warm up for today. 66 in Moab, landing 63, mid 70s in Lake Powell. The warm temperatures, the winds, of course, leading to rapid or increasing snow melt. We have a flood advisory that has been issued for this evening through noon Wednesday. This is primarily for the Immigration Creek, which is forecast to hit flood stage, unfortunately, once again, late Monday into Tuesday and possibly Tuesday into Wednesday. Here's kind of the forecast and the graph showing Immigration Creek current flood flow, a rapid increase with some of the warmer temperatures, as well as we do have moisture on the way. We're tracking this trough of low pressure here. We'll talk more about timing when that's expected to arrive and how big of a punch it's going to pack for us. Details coming up. Sarah?
All right, thank you, Nate. Now, with more potential flooding on the horizon in Salt Lake, you can find sandbag filling stations around the county. Today at Sugar House Park at the Big Field, volunteers came together to help fill sandbags for anyone who might need them. We spoke to a few of these helpers who told us why they were happy to see so many people using their weekend to help out.
We were the first ones here, and quickly a lot more people came. So yeah, it was obviously they've done a lot yesterday too, because the amount of bags over there is just unbelievable.
Bridge goes on to say he loves seeing the community come together and filling sandbags for their neighbors. The Bridges say they aren't necessarily doing this for their own home, but they said they want to make sure their neighborhood is prepared if they see more flooding soon. The same event held by the city near Rose Park brought rows and rows of sandbags for the neighborhood. We spoke to one couple there who told us they live in a high-risk flood zone next to Jordan River. Their area was impacted by the flood of '83, and they say they want to stop any potential flooding before it can now get to their home. We asked them what they're most worried about regarding the flooding. This is what they said.
I'm more worried that we're going to be at work and then it's going to happen.
And our daycare is across the street from our house, so it's right on the river. And so again, the worry is that we would get a call from daycare and say you have to pick your son up, and then we don't have daycare or childcare for the next however long.
So again, some potential big concerns from the future flooding. And as the snow continues to melt, we'll stay on top of it, tracking which areas are flooding and being evacuated. So make sure you stick with us right here on ABC4 News. It's a time of reflection. This weekend, we're recognizing the 10-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing. Today, I spoke with a Utah man who was not only at the Boston Marathon in 2013, but 3 years later, he survived the terrorist attack in Brussels. He's sharing now his outlook on life, how it's changed, and what he's learned over the past 10 years. It's a story you'll only see here on ABC4 News.
April 15th, 2013, it was definitely a day that I'm never going to forget.
A day many remember is a day Mason Wells says he'll never forget.
My mom had chosen to run the Boston Marathon. Me and my father were there that year, cheering her on, watching her run. As we crossed that road and kind of made our way down Exeter Street, we heard the first of two ginormous explosions.
Around 3 o'clock that afternoon, 2 bombs went off near the finish line. The explosion killed 3, leaving hundreds injured.
I witnessed the initial emergency vehicles arriving. I saw ambulances and police cars screaming down the road to try to get into just a mess of people.
Drew and his parents physically were fine. Mentally,
I think it definitely left emotional trauma that we had to work through mentally. And as someone that has actually witnessed 2 terror attacks, I think that you have to really come at this from the viewpoint of a survivor, that you're a survivor, not a victim.
In 2016, Mason was serving as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Brussels. He was at the airport when, for the second time in his life, bombs went off, this time leaving him severely injured.
I remember sitting in a hospital bed after Brussels being injured and thinking, wow, how could I ever get back to normal health?
But Mason used it as a learning experience.
Yes, anything bad can happen to me, but that also means that I can overcome anything that happens to me. I can be the type of person that can get past the emotional trauma of 2 attacks.
Looking back, he says it's an experience that's taught him to move forward.
There's a lot of terrible people out there that do wish to do us harm. But I think that for every bad person out there, there's 10 good people. At the end of the day, we can choose to allow things to change our lives, or we can change our own lives after bad things happen to us. It's just up to us as to what we're going to make of every situation.
Truly some unbelievable experiences, and now Mason has used it again as a learning experience. He's now married, living in Texas with his wife, training to be a pilot in the U.S. Navy. His mom, he says, will be competing in the Boston Marathon tomorrow for the third time. Coming up on ABC4 News at 5, how one Air National Guardsman was able to leak classified intelligence documents, what politicians are saying is at fault, and the latest details on the story. Plus, what's news to you?